Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
I certainly hope so. Been having some difficulties today, and I hope you're hearing me. And I know Susan's on the line, but I don't know if we're going to hear her or she's going to hear me. So let's just cut to the chase and see. I hope you're there, Suze.
Well, am I?
Yeah, you are.
Cool.
Oh boy, you have no
Cool.
I did everything but stand on my head. Oh my God. That is not looking good. Oh my God. When at
Well,
first
I tuned you on. I went to see if the show came on, and it did right before I came on.
Whoa. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
phew. That's good. I mean, everything just seems very tentative today. I mean, the computer is like slow. Everything was taking a lot of time. I'm just telling you, but at least we're on and might as well get going here. For those of you listening, it's if you haven't looked at the calendar, it's the 16th. It's a Tuesday, and that's why Suze is with us. Hi. Okay. Phew.
I know it's always so exciting when you get where you're going that you forgot why you came.
Yeah, exactly. What are we here doing? Oh yeah, it's a show. It's a show. Ay, 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 ay. So you know what? I'm sort of caught flat-footed. I absolutely did not think this was happening. Okay. So uh Trump? Yes, no. Do we want to go there?
Yeah. What about him?
I don't know. Is there anything
He's
to say?
he's gonna sleep through his criminal trial.
Yeah.
Wake up, do something inappropriate, and then fall back asleep again.
You know, it takes some
And
doing.
honestly, I'm so tired of hearing why he
What?
can't go to jail because of the Secret Service. I don't care what any law says. When you become a criminal and you break laws such that you are convicted, then I think you just forfeit that Secret Service stuff. Put them in solitary. Keep them safe. That's what they do to other people.
Yeah. Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
That's what they do to other people that they deem not safe in the general population. They put them in solitary.
No, but I'm saying let's not get ahead of ourselves. We haven't even picked a jury. He's not even been convicted. And I want to remind you that our system...
Yeah, but he keeps violating the gag order, and one of the punishments for that is...
I know, but...
What would happen to you and me?
Yeah, I understand.
If we sat there threatening the judge's daughter and the jurors?
I think this judge seems like the perfect judge. He seems, really...
Well, he's trying very hard to withstand an appeal.
Yes,
and to
exactly.
Look like he's bent over backwards in fairness. Yeah.
Right. So I think all that's good. The jury, it's going to take, if they manage to seat like one juror today, that'll be a triumph. This is going to be really hard because, and I'm remembering that when the trial for the SOB who killed the Jews here at Tree of Life, that jury selection took weeks. Same kind of a reason. It was so fraught. It was a case that very few people hadn't heard of and or didn't have strong feelings about. So it took a long time to get a jury. And this will be the same. I think it's going to maybe freak some people out. But the questionnaire that they have to fill out, all these prospective jurors, one of them, question 34, is, do you have any strong opinions or firmly held beliefs about former President Donald Trump? That's just the
Who
first.
can't answer? Everybody has to answer yes about that.
I know. And so Alexander.
And if you don't, what the hell is the matter with you? Where have you been?
Exactly. So Alexandra Petrie was looking at these questions and she saw that and she said, what? She had the same reaction, like, what? Okay, she said. So if somebody says no to that, the follow-up questions would be, uh, wait, you don't have any strong opinions or firmly held beliefs about Donald Trump? And they might say no. And then the next question is, have you been living in a hole
Why
for the
not?
last 20 years? Yeah. I mean, and she just goes on saying, are you out of your cotton picking mind? And
Right, exactly.
but like the concern for having a stealth juror, somebody who's going to lie, game the system to get in, and get Trump off, let's say. How, if you were the stealth juror, I can see a stealth juror answering that question, no, I am totally neutral. And so I think anybody.
But that does it occur to you that that's the wrong answer and why the question is there?
Well, it should be. Anyone who says no to that, that's an immediate red flag. Right. Immediate red flag.
And the fact that this person is famous, fame is not a reason not to be tried. And there are any number of movie stars that, put Taylor Swift on trial. Anybody not know who she is? That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's simply a factor.
Okay. Hey, I'm being told you have some reverb going on. I do not want you to call back. Do not call back. Now, what I could do, I've got you on Ethernet. Should I just put you on Wi-Fi instead? I don't know.
You can try it.
I don't know, guys.
I'm speaking on a landline like I always do, so if I don't reverberate normally, and I am now that you're using Ethernet, perhaps, but otherwise just let me reverb. I'm sorry.
Well, Kurt's reporting it, and he says she's quite understandable. It's just, I don't know. If any, I think we'll just, sounds like she has a megaphone rather than a mic. I don't know what to say. Just stay where you are.
Maybe that's just me.
Okay. Or maybe it's just Kurt, so who the hell knows? Okay.
I generally sort of sound like I have a megaphone even when I don't have a mic.
Well, that's true too, although both of us. Okay. I'm being told now that there was at the beginning, but you're okay now. Okay?
Cool.
Okay. Oh gosh. All right.
Isn't it nice? I thank you guys. It's such a team effort to get us working.
You have no idea, Susan. I got it's like a whole bunch of folks here that are letting me know how they're. So I'm very appreciative. Thank you. It takes a village.
It takes a village. Everything takes a village. Thank you, and we appreciate your participation.
Yeah. Hey, somebody pointed out, now I know it was yesterday, but April 15th is a historic date in American history, always has been, and by virtue of the fact that it's the date when, Donald Trump
we pay taxes.
Went on trial, only solidifies that the criminal case of the people of New York versus Donald J. Trump was gavelled into session on April 15th. April 15th.
The guy that doesn't pay taxes on tax day?
Yeah. And April 15th, 1865, Abraham Lincoln breathed his last breath?
Ah,
In 1912, April 15, the Titanic went down.
yeah, bad day.
Not necessarily. April 15, 1947, Jackie Robinson broke the color line in baseball's major league. And 2013, 2 bombs went off at the Boston Marathon. April 15.
Well, it's a day loaded with history.
I wonder if that's true, but that's got to be true of every date. Don't you think? That's some good ones.
I would think that just about any day in the year you could come up with tens of things that have happened of note, right?
Right. That's why it used to be in the paper, they'd say on this date in history, and then there would always be, it didn't matter what the date was, there was always a bunch of stuff. Okay. Speaking of taxes, Mark Cuban, do you know who he is? Mark.
I didn't hear his last name. Mark who?
Cuban.
Oh, I know who Mark Cuban is. Sure.
Yeah, you know him from that TV show, right?
No, I know him because he's a millionaire that owns basketball teams and is trying to get low-cost drugs to the populace.
Okay,
he's like a fairly nice billionaire.
Exactly. And he's also a Pittsburgher, I want you to know. Mark Cuban posted something in an attempt to, I guess, jab the other billionaires that he was paying his taxes. He was wiring money to whoever, the IRS today. And do you know how much he paid yesterday in taxes? Mark Cuban, yesterday.
I hope it's several million. How much did he pay?
$276 million.
Yeah, that means that he was trying to pay his fair share.
That's what it looks like, a fair share for one of these effing billionaire types. And most of them don't come anywhere near doing what they should do, like he. $276 million is his donation to his fair share, perhaps. And I bet he took all the deductions he could take and all that stuff.
No, I think he paid his fair, but he didn't go out of his way to look for ways to shelter money that properly belonged to the government and the taxpayers.
Exactly.
Just like, when I pay my taxes, it properly belongs to the government and other taxpayers.
Exactly. So
it's my contribution to running our community, and I never understood why people don't get that.
Well, they say because I don't want to pay. Listen, none of us want to pay for a lot of stuff that money could be going to. On the other hand, there's a lot of stuff I'm quite willing to have it pay for. It's just that it goes into a big pot, and you have nothing to say about it.
You have nothing to say about it. But, for example, I think everybody's about to find this out. I just found it out because my renewal came up. My home insurance has gone up 40%.
What?
40%.
What?
40%.
And what is...
Everybody else's is going to go up 40% too.
Why?
Because there are wildfires in California and Texas and hurricanes and terrible flooding in Florida and all of these states. We as a community are paying for that.
Oh, dear.
So when you find out that your taxes, that your home insurance is going to be several thousand, I worked everything that I could work, and I only got it down $1,700, which means it still went up 25%. So nothing happened to my house, and I never made a claim.
Wow. I always thought
this
insurance is it's a scheme that I hate having to play, because
it's something you pay and you can't use.
Yeah,
because if you use it, they punish you.
Yeah, it rarely seems to work out for you. It's like, gambling. The house always wins. But you would be irresponsible not to have insurance. And yet, I don't know. I don't know that it's ever paid off for me. But all that means is I've been lucky, right? I haven't had my house burned down, or I haven't had a horrific accident, or exactly. But I still always.
Yeah, I've used my insurance a few times when I lived in St. Louis for, combination of natural disasters and stuff like that, and I was perfectly happy to have it. And when they called me with this, the poor woman, I can imagine what her day was like, because she was calling everybody. And saying, nothing I can do about it, and you can't rewrite it because your roof is this old, and blah, 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 blah. I mean, really? So when you're paying, your taxes, the reason this came up, are just like the insurance pool. We're all paying in. We get out unevenly according to our needs, theoretically.
Theoretically, exactly. Well, here's another question.
And hold your breath.
Yeah.
Get ready, guys.
Okay, well, thanks for the heads up, I guess. So here's the other thing. The networks are gotten themselves all together, a common front, and they are asking Biden and Trump to debate, which is something that has always happened, right, in a presidential contest. And I read a piece today that was really good by David Frum, and he said Biden should say no. No. Because this is not like any race for the White House before. You do not have two candidates who both would, in fact, you have
different policy ideas.
Well, no, you have two candidates, both of whom have been, one is president. Both have taken an oath, the presidential oath already. One has clearly shown that he will not honor that oath. He did not uphold the Constitution. In fact, quite the opposite. And there is no reason that President Biden should elevate this insurrectionist to an equal position and give him that platform.
And I'm not so sure it wouldn't absolutely end in fisticuffs, because Trump would start doing his stalking behavior like he tried to do to Hillary. And I think Biden properly would just turn around and deck him, which I would love to see.
Yeah, but Trump weighs him by 150 pounds. He'll take him down. Here's the thing. It lends credibility to Donald Trump, as if he is. It gives him stature. And you would have all of the questioners, the network people and reporters who are asking the questions, give him the same measure of respect that they're giving the president, and that it provides just a false, it's what the networks have been doing, treating this like it's business as usual. It is not. And of course they want the debate, because it will be a ratings, giant. Who wouldn't tune in to that? So It's not like they're, they don't say you should have this debate because it's going to make us rich as hell. That's not what they're saying. They're saying it's for the good of the country and this is what we need to do.
Yeah, it's
and
not. We know everything we need to know. Everybody already knows everything they need to know. We are just tapping our fingers waiting for election day. I mean, there's nothing that can be said that should change anybody's mind. You should already know everything you need to know.
But
and I'm sorry, Joe Biden's right. It's a binary choice.
But Biden is such a, hewer to tradition that I'm afraid he will say yes. I don't know. And if you've heard Trump lately, I mean, he can barely put a sentence together.
He can't put a sentence together.
In between, falling asleep. So
and going, I'm a victim. I'm a victim. Everybody's so mean to me. Why is this attractive?
Because
talk about losers. I mean, aren't victims losers in his world?
Oh, Susan, you're come on. You are using reason? You can't take these people on with reasonable argument.
Yeah, I know. I'm listening to these people that bought Truth Show, the Truth
Social, my God.
stock.
Yeah.
And they're buying more. As it goes down, they're buying more. The poorer they are, the stupider, the more he's robbing them. And they don't understand that they're being robbed.
No, they do. They just can't. I mean, I don't know what the psychology of it is, but it's like in for a dollar, in for a pound. Is that what the phrase is? They cannot.
In for a pound, in for a penny, in for a pound.
There you go.
Yeah.
They cannot back away without humiliating themselves. They're in. He's their guy.
Yeah, but when I listen to a guy that says he took his life savings of $25,000 and probably bought the first day at the top at 70, and now today it's worth what, 24 or something? He's now got $5,000 and shrinking.
Well, he got conned.
Yes, he did.
It's beyond it is.
But how when he's just sitting there with a handful of nothing now, how can't he look at his hand and see, oops, nothing?
Because he can't. Because that's the interesting question, but that's the question you have to ask all of these Trumpers. That they're in. It's you cannot. I don't know, Suze. It's like mass psychosis.
I know. It was largely a rhetorical question.
Yeah, but
because obviously in 5 years they should have been able to figure some of this out, or 7 years, or 6 years, or however long this hell has been going on.
It's longer than you think. It's longer than you think. Okay, well, I've got an obit here I want to wing by you. This will.
Okay, I was just thinking about Clint Eastwood myself.
Oh, gosh, did you guys see? Susan and I talked last night. There's a picture of Clint Eastwood. They said he was attending. What was he attending? Somebody's Jane Goodall.
He was at something, and I saw
Jane Goodall.
I saw a picture taken the second day where he, with the same day, wearing the same clothes, where he looked a whole lot better than in that picture.
Well, sure.
But
so
boy,
so he looked like hell, and that's the picture, of course, that you run with because that's the clickbait picture. He looked
right,
like a doddering. Old, emaciated man. His hair was uncombed. He looked like if you saw him on the street.
With long hair, long, wispy white hair, and his pants up underneath his armpits,
yeah.
and
It was something.
Yeah, the whole thing.
But that's not, he ain't dead, so that's not the obit. The obit, the obit is a guy named Bennett Braun. And he was a psychiatrist. And reading his obit, I was, just flown back into one of those periods where media loses its collective mind and goes off on a on our terror. I've often said how, remember the missing children, one child is missing, and then for, all of a sudden every other story is a missing child and parents are freaking out and milk cartons and this and that. There
we
was
got
nothing,
milk cartons, yeah.
There was nothing that had changed. It's just media decided to focus on that. It took them forever to acknowledge that in almost every case, this was a parent taking a child. That there was not some. So this is the kind of thing that happens when media goes berserk. This guy helped spawn one of those chapters in media infamy, and that destroyed a ton of lives. He's the guy who came up with the repressed memory stuff, where all of a sudden, all over the country,
the bogus repressed memory stuff,
bogus repressed memories in which people were all remembering being abused in satanic rituals.
And in fact, it was leading questions by self-interested psychiatrists, right?
Right.
Looking to prove their points.
So he had claimed that he could help people uncover this childhood trauma and free themselves. Now, he actually was a big shot. He had an entire unit at Chicago's Rush Presbyterian St. Luke's Medical Center. And it's now just, I think, Rush University Medical Center.
Right.
And it was just incredible. Almost everybody who came in to see him turns out to have uncovered memories of being tortured by a satanic cult. And in some cases of having been the torturer. And the media picked up on this, and it keyed into a national panic. This is when those cases, and I'm now blanking on them, of childcare workers, right, were accused of molesting children. There was a big California one. There was one, I think it was in Boston, where one of the young women who was accused of molesting and doing these satanic things to these little kids happened to be someone who grew up here in the suburbs of Pittsburgh. And she was convicted, she was in jail. I did an interview with her two parents in my studio. I have it on tape somewhere, it was videoed. It was the most heart-wrenching thing I have ever been through. And in fact, of course, eventually,
she was cleared.
Yes.
And what happens to the false accusers?
I don't think anything happens to the false accusers. And, well, listen. So, there was even a quasi-medical abbreviation put on this called SRA, satanic ritual abuse.
Good God.
Yeah. This is when an entire branch of medicine goes off the rails. Now, one of his patients, was a woman from Iowa whose name was Patricia Burgess. And he ended up putting her heavily drugged in some mental health facility in Houston, along with her two sons, who were held away from her for nearly 3 years. She, with her doctor's help, she recalled torches, live burials, eating the body parts of up to 2,000 people a year.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
This guy did
How
this.
sick is this guy?
Yeah. So here's the good news. A 1992 FBI investigation found zero evidence of coordinated cult activity in the United States. And a 1994 report by the National Center on Child Abuse and Neglect surveyed over 12,000 accusations of satanic ritual abuse and found not a single one held up under scrutiny. Think of all the lives this SOB destroyed. And media. Geraldo Rivera went off on it. Everybody, Dateline went off on it.
I can just remember that. I remember this in real time because, some of you may know, I was married to a psychiatrist, psychoanalyst, and in real time, he was so appalled by all of this, saying this is just bull. This is just nonsense.
Right. Well, I think it was
These
Eric's.
are implanted memories. I mean, he was horrified and screaming the whole time, and a lot of good it did.
Yeah, right. But it was his, reaction that informed my sense that this was insanity. And why I knew that poor woman's parents that sat there, those poor people, were telling the absolute truth about her. Geraldo Rivera even apologized later about it. The woman who he held, who thought she'd eaten 2,000 body parts a year, she eventually sued. Actually, it was her insurance company. No, she sued him and her insurance company, saying he had implanted these false memories in her head. And he settled that out of court for over $10 million. And she was quoted as saying, "I began to add a few things up and realized there was no way I could come out of a little town in Iowa, be eating 2,000 people a year, and nobody said anything."
Right. Not to mention, that's a voracious appetite.
Yeah, oh yeah. So here's the thing, though. It shows how sort of mass psychosis is very easy to set off, or mob craziness, where there's an immediate buy-in, So this guy was sort of like Trump-like in that he was able to create out of nothing this thing and ride the wave for a bit. Although he ended up having his medical license yanked, and somehow he got a medical license.
I mean, the horror is this guy. This guy ruined lives, threw people in jail, separated mothers and children, tortured them with these evil thoughts.
Yep. Well, the good news is he's dead.
Yay, ding dong.
Yeah. Bennett Braun, 83 years old. And it took the FBI to investigate all of these horrors and find they were fantasy. Unbelievable.
Well,
What?
the sick part is some of it might not have been fantasy, because when the whole world was going nuts talking about crazy people doing this, there might well have been copycat crazy people doing it.
Well,
Oh, that
true.
sounds like fun. Let's do that.
Yeah, well, that's true.
It is true.
Yeah. Milton gave us a quote here. It's easy to fool someone. It's easy to fool someone, but nearly impossible to convince them they've been fooled.
Right.
Because that requires.
Well, that involves humiliation.
Yes, exactly. It requires an acknowledgement that you were had, and none of us like to think we can be had. But Susan, you bring up this thing about how, yeah, maybe even some people started, actually acting this out in reality. And it reminded me of this horrific story that was in the Sunday Times. I don't know if you read it. It so freaked me out. About choking. Did you read it? No.
No.
Oh my God. Who knew?
I had enough awful stuff popping up in my life. I wasn't reading it.
No. I'll give you just a few lines. One senior in high school was angry that her friends called her vanilla when she complained that her boyfriend had choked her during sex. It turns out that this is a thing now. And
I was worried you were going there. I mean, first we had this auto stuff where, the kids ended up hanging themselves. Oops.
Yep.
It's the same thing.
Listen to this. So there is a researcher at the Center for Sexual Health Promotion at Indiana University, and she's been doing a lot of research. And she said she was so surprised by the quickness, the rapidity with which this thing grew into a thing with young people, that she felt she had to just get the news out. It says here that for the past 4 years, she's been tracking the rapid rise of rough sex among college students, and that's particularly sexual strangulation, or what they refer to it as choking. She did a survey of 5,000 students at an unspecified Midwestern university, and nearly 2/3 of the women in that survey said that they had had a partner that choked them during sex.
Okay, so just to be clear, this is men who somehow think that it's thrilling for them, and either they choose to believe it's thrilling for the woman, or they just flat out don't care, but they think strangulation is an appropriate way to show sexual enthusiasm. Okay, let's just. Are you kidding? I'm buying a gun.
Here's the thing. It's because, again, of kids having access at a much earlier age to pornography because of the internet. And apparently...
Okay, so they're watching what? Snuff films?
No, apparently choking, Suze. You and I guess don't watch porn.
No, it supposedly enhances the I know bullshit. It's sadistic nonsense.
Okay, but Suze, it's now a thing. And young people think it's normal. I'm just telling you, they think it's normal. And the article says, as with anything else, repeat exposure can render the once appalling appealing. It's not uncommon for behaviors to be normalized in porn, move within a few years to mainstream media, and then adopted.
But what do we know about it? The women are not willing participants. I'm sorry. Parents have a responsibility these days, and I had it when my son was little, and I caught him. His father and I had different feelings about catching him with pornography. And mine was outraged because I said, it's just going to ruin you for what an actual real woman is like. Your expectations are going to be unreasonable about appearance, about satisfaction, about willingness to engage in questionable behaviors. It's just, I yelled at him for so long. He finally said, okay. I mean, weeks. I was so angry. And it's a responsibility that parents have, especially now when you bet their kids are watching this stuff, to assume their kids are watching this stuff and to tell them what's real and what's not. Well, because 2/3 of those women were not enjoying being strangled.
That's right. And the thing
they were assaulted.
Yeah, they were frightened. They were scared. They were frightened. And this article,
I would have kicked them. If those girls didn't just squarely land something right in those guys' balls.
So this is what this woman doing this has written a book titled "Yes, Your Kid," because she says parents don't have a clue of what children think normal sexuality is right.
No, and that's what I mean. Yes, your kids, because I have the son, I gave birth to the baby Jesus, and I had this conversation.
Okay. Either way, here. I just want to give you some stuff from this. This was in the Sunday New York Times. Most of these college students say that their partners never asked before grabbing their necks. For many, there had been moments when they couldn't breathe or speak. A separate study by this same doctor said choking was among the most frequently listed sex acts young women said had scared them, reporting that it sometimes made them worry whether or not they'd survive. And the thing is, some of the women are getting into it because they think it makes them cool. If you're young.
This is just, of course.
God.
Of course.
Okay. So
this is what our culture does to us. Oh.
But Suze, you
really
were saying
you
were saying, listen, the fact is that your son, looking at, probably pretty vanilla pornography at the time, he would see that same, a boy of the same age would see that same stuff now at the movies, maybe on television, certainly on his iPhone. This unreal depiction of sex and or love or what women are. Anyway, this article goes on to say, first of all, let's make clear that it's not girls choking boys, it's boys choking girls.
That's it. That was my other point. Yeah. Note who's doing the assaulting.
Yes. Okay.
And how it's being labeled as cool in the culture.
Now, doing all this work and talking to these kids, she's had boys say to her, ask her, why do why do girls like to be choked? So a lot of boys think this, I mean, they don't understand, don't get it at all. The girls are asking, why do boys want to choke me? The boys are asking, why do girls like to be choked?
And that was my next question. Did the doctor ever say, after the girls say they were choked, what did you do after?
That, I don't think they got into this.
You see, but that would be very important, because if that girl didn't jump up and say, what the are you doing to me?
A 2020 interview, this is somebody else, actually the person who wrote the piece, Peggy Orenstein, called author of Boys and Sex. She said she came upon this 4 years ago. She said in a question and answer period after she had spoken at a high school, a 16-year-old girl asked, how come boys all want to choke you? And then in a different class, this is the one, a 15-year-old boy said, why do girls all want to be choked? And then,
thank God each of them asked.
Yeah. And she said her roommate came home in tears because a partner without warning had put his hands on her throat and squeezed. And this woman started to ask more questions. And she says the stories just piled up. A male freshman said girls expect to be choked. And even though he didn't want to do it, refusing to do it will make him seem like a simp. Okay. This, I hate to upset you, Suze, but this had me like, okay. According to the American Academy of Neurology, restricted blood flow to the brain, even briefly, can cause permanent injury, including stroke and
not to mention you can injure the vocal the
cords,
voice box,
right, and cognitive impairment. They've been looking at undergraduate women who have been repeatedly choked. I'm not kidding. This is another research thing. Undergraduate women who have been repeatedly choked, and their MRIs show a reduction in cortical folding in the brain compared with a never choked control group. They also showed widespread cortical thickening and inflammation response that is associated with elevated risk of later onset mental illness. The hemispheres in the choked group's brains were badly skewed, with the right side hyperactive and the left underperforming. Women who had experienced more than 5 instances of choking were 2.5 times as likely as those who had never been choked to say they had been so depressed within the previous 30 days they could not function. I know.
I'm speechless.
I know you are.
I'm speechless. And we're teaching these women that they're supposed to ask for this. You know, just when you think you're getting ahead, you've gone back so far, so fast that it's breathtaking.
That is right. And listen to this. This researcher, Debbie Herbenick, says choking seems to have made the first leap into, normalization in a 2008 episode of Showtime's Californication, which was a very highly rated show, where it was, although then it was still depicted as, a little out there. And then more and more, it accelerated after the success of 50 Shades of Grey. By 2019, when a high school girl was choked in the pilot of HBO's Euphoria, It was standard fare. A young woman was choked in the opener of The Idol. That's again on HBO. Ali Wong plays the proclivity for laughs and plays choking for laughs in a Netflix special, and it's a punchline in Tina Fey's Mean Girls. Yep.
Well, I'm shocked at those women.
They're young,
Unless
Susan.
it's
Susan, they're 17, 18.
Tina Fey isn't young.
Oh, those women. I thought you meant the kids. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Ali Wong, they know better. If the only reason that should be in those things is to hold it up to, are you kidding?
Yeah.
Book them for assault. Book them for attempted murder. Because, by the way, that's what it is.
Well, and it's also shown that men who engage
manslaughter,
in strangulation, one of the most significant indicators that a man will murder his female partner is non-fatal strangulation. Okay, we got a caller here. Hello?
Guess who?
Hi, Clarence.
What are you? Are you an expert in this? You can't be. Susan is in no mood to laugh. She's already laughing.
I'm laughing already.
I was even going to make, because I'm sitting here trying not to call, and all I'm thinking about is why or how do people fall for things that are supposedly, quotation fingers, cool, in, hip, and all that kind of stuff. I think what has to start to be done, because they're giving kids trophies, they're calling them winners, even if they're not winners, to give them self-esteem. But it seems like they don't have self-esteem once they hit the teen years, because they have to fit in, they have to be cool, they have to be part of the crowd, or you're a simp, whatever the hell that means.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell people, I must have been genetically capable of, and I always tell people, I said, when my crowd, when I was a teenager, wanted me to drink or take drugs, I just look at them and say, wait a minute, I'm the cool one. You're hanging around with me. I'm not hanging around with you. I'll just leave.
Well,
I'll just leave. And when I say that, I tell people, all you got to do is say that you're cool. You don't have to do what everybody else does. You got to be okay with yourself, okay with being alone. You have to be okay with these things, and you won't fall for it. I mean, everybody. You won't fall for the Trumps. You know what I mean? You won't fall for the psychiatrist guy who tells you, you were eating 2,000 people a year. You know what I mean? It's like, get the hell out of here. I mean,
hey, Clarence, Clarence, you will acknowledge that you are not the norm. You are an outlier, and you take pride in that. So that most people, especially young people, they're desperate. They don't know how to be who they are, and so they're just sitting ducks.
And that's the thing. I know. I see myself. There's a friend of mine named Jeff came up with this line, and I love it. It's like you put me on a pedestal and yell at me for being up there. I don't see myself as nothing but a normal, average human being. You know what I mean? It's like, am I an outlier? Is there something special with my brain? I don't feel it. I don't think it. I think it's possible for everybody.
Well, but it's not, it's your self-confidence.
How do you get them there?
Most people don't have your sense of self. Most people don't. And it's not, you just
and the question is,
have it. It's nothing, I don't know. Other people don't.
No, but Clarence, my son had the same. That he didn't drink, he didn't do drugs, and he hung out almost exclusively with the kids that did. And when we suggested a drug-free dorm and stuff when he went to college, he just looked at us like we were nuts. He said, well, it's not who I am. I'm a regular person. And I don't want to live exclusively with people like me. It's just fine.
Everywhere I go. It's kind of funny, too, because I'm usually the only single one, the only black one, the only non-drinker, the only non-reefer smoker. I'm just some guy sitting there not doing what you're doing. Because there's like, I do have one rule. If you say something like, "Oh, come on, have a drink with me," I'll say, "No, thank you, I don't drink." Then say it again, and I'll say, "Oh, no, thank you." Say it the third time, I walk out. Because now you're trying to force me to do something that I want to.
Right, now you're proselytizing. What's the matter with you?
Yeah. So that's like my one rule. But I'm just comfortable, and I think it's like I said, it could be genetic, but I think if you're saying, well, most people can't do this. Now you've just told people you're capable of doing this. You know what I mean? You got to let them believe that they can do it too. Just walk away. It's not easy. Because I tell you, I was a teenager, 13-year-old, 14-year-old, and just,
what's so sad about the whole real conversation that we're having is that it turns out that each party would be relieved to find out that nobody wants any part of it.
Yeah, a lot of these boys don't want to do it, and the girls don't want it done to them.
Exactly. And that's the thing. You've got to have the conversations and let them know, it's like that open honesty thing. You got to be like honest. Because I can't, I do a lot of characters at a lot of colleges, and I'm always talking to the kids and all this stuff. And I just tell them, I don't know if I want to do this. I think I look funny. Well, that's the whole idea of a caricature, but it's like, I said, you're going to have to like learn to be okay with yourself. I'll just tell them, learn to be okay with yourself. I said, there's a line from George Clinton in Parliament Funkadelic. Mind your wants, because there's someone that wants your mind. And I love that line. Mind your wants, because there's someone that wants your mind.
Right?
Yeah. Don't want to be this, don't want to be that. Mind them. Pay attention. Don't want this material possession, because somebody's going to use you in order for you to get it. You got to pay attention to the things that you want.
But so Clarence, I'm saying is this runs counter. This is what our culture creates.
Yeah.
And I don't know how.
Yeah, it is.
It's just such
Change the culture.
Well, listen, the culture is all about making money. The culture is, and money gets made by, attracting people. And it's getting harder and harder. You have to keep upping the game. And this is where you get.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Like I said, mind your wants.
Mind your wants. Well,
right.
that's an un-American thing. That is an un-American thing, to mind your wants, because America is all about wanting.
Yeah, well, advertisements and
That's
like
right.
you said, the culture tells you that, but you don't have to. Nobody's holding a gun to your head. Hey, you got to have stuff for like that's why I go back to self-esteem or sense of self. When people, because I'm a thrifter, and when I say like, other people are like, oh, nice jacket, I'll say I got it at the Goodwill, and they say, well, you don't have to tell people that. I say, I do. I want you to know that jacket that you just complimented me on, I got at the Goodwill. I want you to know that. So you complimented me on it, and I paid $8.99 for it. That's how you thought it was cool. And then I paid $8.99 for it at a Goodwill. So,
and you want them to know. You want them to know that because.
Yeah, because they're walking around, I'll make the story. I'll make it as short as possible. Doing characters at this, I was going to say Three River Stadium. Setting up, kid comes up to me, he's working there, and likes my outfit. I tell him, I said, dude, this whole thing cost me like $25. He's a teenager. He says, my grandma, I said, I got about a thrift store. I mean, everything, including the shoes. And he said to me, $25. I said, yeah. I said, check this out. How much you pay for those Nikes? He said, like $150. I said, how many hours do you have to work to pay for that? He said, I don't know. And I said, $25 is 15 minutes for me. He goes, wow. I said, yeah, dude. I said, you're working for a status symbol. I said, and you walked up to me and complimented me on my outfit. You liked what I was wearing, and I'm telling you, it was $25. The suit, the shoes, the shirt, the tie, everything adds up for $25. And you complimented me on it. Just to point out, especially the young kids, that trying to be cool stuff and spending a lot of money isn't necessary. He thought I looked cool.
I hope he got the message. I don't know. The forces that are working on these children and young people are just so massive that I don't know.
Well, by the way, those same forces that are working on those young children, you argue with me about this, show that they worked on you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, they do. They work on you. They work on all of us. There's no doubt about it. Hey, thank you.
Yeah, but
that's from Canonsburg.
Oh, okay.
We're out of time.
I'm just going to say that's why parents actually have to have more difficult conversations, not less.
Yeah.
Their kids know more, and they've got to take a deep breath and dive right in. Save them a whole lot of heartache.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you,
guys. A lot of kids taking psychology in college, by the way. Oh, you're welcome. Oops, clock. Okay. All right.
Bye, guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Suze. Suze, drive carefully.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, 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 bye. Okay. Yowie. So, I guess that's it, guys. Got a little heavy there, didn't it? Okay. I'm sorry. I'm looking at all your all the stuff on chat. I hadn't been on that screen. Yeah, it's such a friggin' bummer. Anyway, sorry. And boy, what a beautiful day out there. I think I'll go out and attempt to enjoy it. Grab it when you can. Thank you so much for being here. And I should be back tomorrow. I hope to be. You never know. You never know. Slow.
Lynn Cullen Live.
Yeah.
Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.